Mark, thank you. The shooting death of a black man, Dijon Kizee, in Westmont by LA County Sheriff's deputies is the latest to spark outrage and protests in Southern California. It follows the fatal shooting of armed security guard Andres Guardado of Gardena, who also died at the hands of sheriff's deputies.
Their families and communities are demanding answers. Joining us now, civil rights attorney Brian Dunn, managing partner of the Cochran Firm California. Brian, good morning.
Good morning, Justin. Thanks for bringing me on.
It's Frank, but thank you. The details, sure. The details in the shooting, we don't know all of them. We know that the sheriff's deputies say he was riding a bicycle and that he violated a vehicle code. What does that mean? Was he not wearing a helmet, or why would they pull him over in the first place?
Well, I think that one of the interesting issues is that we're asking that question in the first place, because that's something we should know. I mean, there are many violations that can trigger such an infraction. I mean, it could have been riding on the sidewalk. He could have run a red light. Could have any of these things that you can do in a car, you can do on a bike, I think. But the deeper issue is, why don't we know? And I think that's why there's so much concern.
And do you believe that a bike stop could lead to a pursuit?
That's an excellent question. We've been racking our heads to see how an infraction or something that happened on a bicycle could ever cause law enforcement to go hands-on with the person. But these are a lot of gaps in the story that the only people that have the answers to this question, for whatever reasons, aren't coming forward with them right now.
Let's try to look at it from the deputy's point of view. They try to stop someone, the person runs. They find out, and they've revealed that that Mr. Kizee had a gun in his clothing. They claim, the initial story was they saw it on the ground, and then a shooting ensued was how it first came out. They now say that he was reaching for it. In that situation, was Kizee considered armed, and isn't that a dangerous situation for the deputies?
That's such a good question. Now, when we talk about the use of deadly force, it's supposed to be the last resort. And when we talk about the reasons that they can offer for this, there has to be an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury to the officer or another person. Now, an imminent threat is what we're talking about here. If he has a gun, despite popular opinion, that's not enough to shoot a person or to use deadly force. If he drops the gun, then he doesn't have anything in his hands. And if he's trying to pick it up, he still doesn't technically have that. Now, in terms of what exactly happened, we still need to understand that. But I've never heard of a foot pursuit in my entire 25-year career where a suspect has dropped a weapon in the broad daylight and then tried to pick it up again. I think the more likely scenario is this man has had some contact with the system, and he didn't want to be a felon in possession of a firearm, because that is a very stiff sentence.
And what is the difference between armed versus unarmed, and why is that distinction so important? Because I think many people would assume if you have a gun in your possession, you're considered armed. Is that accurate?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry for cutting you off. It is accurate.
Okay.
You are armed. But again, when we talk about deadly force, there's no training protocol within the sheriff's department that authorizes them to shoot someone on sight just because they're armed, even if they're armed with a gun, even if they're armed with a gun and they don't drop it. There has to be some form of use of that gun such that it would cause a reasonable officer to believe that there's an imminent threat. And if the gun is not in his hand, that's not going to get quite to that level. However, officer safety is paramount. And we have to consider all of the issues in light of protecting the lives of the men and women that are in law enforcement. And in terms of how this situation played out, we still need to understand some things that are only known to a few people right now.
We've revealed this morning some Ring doorbell video of the shooting. You can hear multiple shots being heard, as many as 15. How will this be employed in the investigation, and what does happen in the investigation over the next few days?
Well, in the immediate aftermath of any kind of officer-involved shooting, you're going to have a public safety statement where they're going to give an account of where all the rounds went. They're going to canvass the scene, they're going to photograph, they're going to find everything. They're going to, after that, take very long recorded statements of the officers, and these are usually 1.5 to 2 hours. And then there's going to be the autopsy, where they're going to determine exactly what killed the decedent, which bullets went, and what the flight path of those bullets were. The issue really is, though, is that the individuals within the department that have conducted this investigation know exactly what happened. They know how the shooting occurred. And believe it or not, even now, they know whether or not the facts consisting of the shooting would constitute a justified or unjustified shooting. They just are going to not present those facts to us until the system has run its course, and that can take quite a while.
What can be done to help communities have more trust in the integrity of these types of investigations?
Now, that's the best question I've heard in a long time. There has to be transparency. And I've been doing these cases for 25 years. When a mother loses her son, she hears about it from a phone call. And this is a very jarring experience. A lot of times they don't even believe, the family doesn't really believe it's happening. They think it's a dream. So the first thing that folks need to know is what happened. They need to know what the last moments of their loved one's life was like. And when they're not getting any straight answers from law enforcement, these are the kinds of things that deepen wedges. And it's not any secret that a lot of times the investigations are not conducted in a way that allows the public to know what's happening. And that's really the source of the biggest problem. We're getting a little bits of the pieces. Even the story that Frank alluded to quite correctly is it's changed even within 2 days. These are the kinds of things that cause people to wonder if there's something else going on, and transparency is what's really needed here.
All right. Once again, civil rights attorney Brian Dunn, the managing partner of the Cochran Firm. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Can't thank you enough, Frank.
Okay.